What would make this an especially useful conversation for you today?
I think the biggest problem that I have, honestly, is to deal with burnout. I'm studying a few hours a day, and I feel like I need to study more because my test is coming out in January. But I feel like I'm so exhausted, and I don't know how to continue, especially when I get stuff wrong. And I'm a person that is very hard on herself, so I'm like, all over in my head, I'm like, I'm stupid, I'm not getting it right, something is wrong with me, stuff like that.
I hear you. So tell me, how many hours a day specifically are you studying per day?
I try to do 7, but most days it goes like 5.
Okay, well, either way, 5 hours is a lot, and 7 hours is also a lot, and it may even be too much. I'm guessing that if you're putting in that much time, you're not working and you're not in school. Is that right?
Right now, I'm not. I actually took a few weeks off from work.
Nice. Great.
Yes.
Well, the problem is when you're studying full-time is that it is a little bit easy to do too much.
Yeah.
So what time of day do you start? What time do you finish? And what kind of breaks are you taking?
So I try to start it around noon, I would say. I'm not the kind of person that does really well with studying early in the morning. I take lunch breaks, and I would say like 3. And I know that one of the best ways to study is to study for 45 minutes and then to take a 5 or 10 minute break. So I try to do that as well. And also when I feel like it's just getting too much, especially in logical reasoning, which is the one I'm struggling most at, I tend to take more breaks.
That all sounds fine. And it is good to take frequent breaks. What you described is along the lines of the Pomodoro technique, having periods of study and periods of rest. I assume you're familiar with that?
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're doing all the right things. What's missing here is just your attitude towards getting things wrong. You said you're beating yourself up when you get things wrong. That's totally normal. This test has so much wrapped up in it that we place our own self-worth on how we do as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is just a test. And while the LSAT as a whole is incredibly important, no one particular test date will make or break you.
That's true. So it's always hard for me to think about that because I feel like, oh my gosh, that's my future. And then sometimes I hear people saying, if you're not going to do well on the LSAT, if you can't get the LSAT, then you're not going to be a good lawyer, which is kind of hard to hear as well, because I do think I can be a good lawyer, but hearing people say that to me is just so discouraging.
Yeah, it certainly is discouraging. And it's also not entirely true. I mean, the LSAT is associated with first-year law school grades. But being a lawyer is a totally separate thing. It is true that doing well in the LSAT is indicative of doing well in law school, and there's some truth to that, of course. But again, you can always retake the LSAT, and how you're doing now is not necessarily how you'll do on test day. Yeah. Now, what does your review process look like?
My review process is pretty much just reviewing the videos that I previously watched, looking over some old questions that I got wrong, trying to figure out how I got them wrong and why I got them wrong, why the correct answer is the correct answer, why it's the one that's actually good. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Okay, so your review, if I'm hearing you correctly, it consists primarily of watching the videos related to that problem.
Yes.
There's value to that, but it's not enough, honestly. And it could actually get in the way of your own understanding. Okay. Because the videos are just one person's way of explaining their perfect solution to it. When in reality, of course, it's you doing it on test day, which means you got to analyze your own thought process. Specifically, what tempted you about the wrong answer, what pushed you away from the right answer, and what may have been confusing about the question itself or the stimulus if it's logical reasoning, for example. So I would encourage you to take some time to dissect these problems that give you trouble before you look at explanations elsewhere.
Okay. So like try to do them by myself, you mean? I mean, I do them by myself, obviously, like the homework questions, but how would you say try to dissect it by myself?
So after you've solved the problem and you've seen that you got it wrong, you could reattempt the problem untimed to see if your error stemmed from the time constraint, or even with unlimited time, maybe you wouldn't get it anyway. You can see how timing impacts things. Regardless, before you look at others' explanations, you could see, okay, here's the wrong answer that I chose, and here's the correct one. What about the wrong answer appealed to me initially? but what ultimately made it wrong? And what about the right answer made it seem unappealing, and what ultimately makes it correct? And you can keep a running list of these questions or have a mistake journal where you track everything you ever got wrong or had difficulty with, and you could reattempt those questions a day later or a week later to see if your review process is working for you. And you can also look at explanations from a variety of sources. There are many forums online. I have video explanations for most logic games on my YouTube channel. I also have many logical reasoning questions explained there as well. So you can get explanations from a variety of sources.
Okay. I like the idea of the, how did you call it? Mistake journal?
Yeah.
To go back on, because I circle all the questions that I got wrong to go back on, but sometimes it can be hard to just flip through the entire book. So I think I'm gonna start to do that. I have my test in January, which is like so close. I'm also I called all the universities that I want to apply to, and I asked if they accept the February Lsat as well, which is something that I'm going to be trying to do as well. Do you think it's actually a good idea to take the February Lsat, or do you think it's better to just wait until the next year?
It's a little bit later than is ideal. There might be less scholarship money available, and your odds are slightly lower. So the January Lsat is the last one I would recommend for this cycle. That's under ideal circumstances.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think I should try to take the February?
I think there's a good benefit to retaking in February because you've already been in the thick of studying now. You've already going for the January LSAT. And so the February one's only another month or so. So all you've got to do is stay fresh on the LSAT for another 4 to 5 weeks and knock it out in February. And you could take in February and then not apply now, but rather apply at the beginning of the next cycle.
Yeah, that's true. Would you suggest for me to not apply this year if I take February?
If you take February, my general recommendation is wait until September, apply at the very beginning of the following cycle, because that's when your odds are the highest, and that's when there's the most scholarship money available. And of course, nobody wants to wait another year on this. Yeah. But in the long run, if you get tens of thousands of dollars in scholarship money, or you get into a better law school over the course of your entire career, it's well worth the wait.
Better. Yeah. That's what everyone tells me. It's something that is hard to hear because you don't want to wait another year.
Yeah, but long run, cost benefit analysis, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, that's true.
Any other questions for you, Coral? Anything else on your mind?
No, not really.
Okay, well, it was great connecting with you. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
First of all, I really like the mistake journal. This is something that I'm definitely going to imply. And second of all, I think just getting a better understanding of what I should do with burnout. First of all, also understanding that maybe 7 hours is a little too much. Can be a little too much. I don't know, just it's just speaking with someone, because I don't have any friends that are trying to go to take the LSAT or go to law school. So and I'm a first generation college student. So even when I was an undergrad, I barely had anyone to talk about this with my family. So just speaking with someone who actually understands everything, this whole process, because my mother, for example, she's very supportive and understanding, but she doesn't really understand. So actually speaking with someone who understands this was really great.
Glad I was able to help, Coral. Please keep in touch and let me know if I can help in any way as you move forward.
Okay. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.